Amal. Welcome to Your Next Move.
Hey, Shri. Thanks for having me here. It's a great pleasure to be talking to you after such a long time.
Yes, it's a long time.
Nice to be here, dude.
Yeah, so I want to ask you about programmatic advertising and its place now, because there's a global consumer backlash when it comes to third-party cookies, data tracking, etc. Google has said that they are going to stop using third-party cookies and they are moving to Flock. So, what's your take on this? How do you see global digital advertising evolve?
Right. Great. You're right in saying, right, that, at the center of it all is, the privacy for the end user, of course. Sitting here in this industry, and I see this being discussed a lot internally and, external forums and all of that. And I think everybody sort of agrees that, this is actually for the good of the industry as well, right? For the industry, for the user, for the apps where the ads actually finally render, it's for everybody's good. Just to sort of set context, it's not just Google stopping the support for third-party cookies. It's also, if you look at a player like an Apple has also deprecated, IDFA's access to advertisers.
Right.
IDFA is the device identifier, the persistent device identifier across mobile phones. So,
which made Facebook go public with a lot of statements and stuff.
Yeah, exactly. So, essentially, this is expected to impact targeting, addressability of ads itself, and everybody's expecting it to affect monetization of digital media, mobile, at large. What it means is, what does it actually mean, right? Like, that's something that we should look at. What it means is, an advertiser will no longer be able to, attribute an end purchase or any user activity back to an ad campaign that this particular user might have been exposed to. Right? Third-party cookies let you do that on the web, and the IDFA lets you do that on, let's say, Apple devices. How it will affect marketers is it affects marketers at when you look at campaigns, you can look at it as a top funnel campaign, which is like an awareness building exercise, or a mid funnel campaign, or a bottom funnel campaign, which actually drives conversions and all that. And this sort of a move is expected to affect a marketing campaign at all three levels, if you look at it, or broadly two levels. If you look at it as brand building exercises and performance campaigns. And performance being a huge sort of pie in advertising itself. You will notice that both of these players, whether it's Google or Apple, they've introduced nuances in the policy to enable some amount of measurement and impact measurement, that is on both of their platforms. And Google is working on something called a Flock, which is federated learning of cohorts, which lets you sort of identify a group of people and their activity rather than at an individual level. And Apple has introduced this new system called SK Ad Network, right, which is very similar, right? Like, Apple can tell you how much a conversion has happened from your campaign and so on. So at some level, it's almost as if they've come up with these policies to make sure that they have a bigger say.
Got it. Yeah.
Delivery of this revenue, of course. But nevertheless, like at the end of the day, who does it affect? It affects the publishers, right? Publishers essentially, apps or websites where these ads finally run, right? The New York Times in the US, it could be the Hindu, for instance, in India. And most of the guys, this is actually finally sort of expected to impact. And in terms of ad addressability on these platforms, I think one of the immediate ways in which publishers will look to sort of tackle this is by using their own data, right? The restriction here is, you can't use data across platforms to target a certain user. But when it comes to first-party data, right, like, which is data that a publisher, a New York Times, for instance, collects the age of a person, the gender of a person, email ID, personally identified information, PII, or it could even be content consumption patterns on a New York Times, so on, right? Like, So the first party data still sort of remains with the publishers, and publishers will obviously look to make a play out of first party data.
Right. So are we saying that when, as in when we say that the first party data will still be, I mean, there like as it is. So
Yeah.
what we essentially trying to say is that the data leakage towards people you don't authorize yourself to see your data will not be there, but people you authorize to see your data, when you enter an age in your website and enter a password in the website, enter whatever in a website, all this information is with them, and they still have the power to do anything with that, like any nefarious thing or any good thing with that. I don't know.
So yeah, you could put it that way. See, in fact, Europe had passed a law called GDPR, which sort of brought about a similar sort of situation for publishers earlier, where publishers could not share data with, or rather had to take the user's consent to share the data with anyone beyond the publisher themselves. And
Right.
that had in fact created a bit of a ripple in the ad tech world with respect to ad addressability. Again, like the third party cookie deprecation obviously will have a similar impact. Being able to identify a user across apps, across ad networks, across by a demand side platform to identify a user across apps will definitely sort of struggle, like with a sort of a move like this. But having said that, that's what I was saying earlier as well. The publisher has more control today, is what I feel. With the first party data, I think there is an opportunity for the publishers to make a play. And if you see, a lot of holding companies or publishers will now aggregate these publishers together and say, I can offer, hey, a first party data based targetability solution or an addressability solution across say these apps of mine. And which is what Google will do today. If you look at Google,
Right,
Google will be the owner of data across, let's say, YouTube, across some of the GDN platforms they might be owning. And what, at the end of the day, what it will mean is Google has more first-party data which it can action across some of its owned properties. And
right,
that's sort of a similar thing a lot of publishers are expected to do as well. And another way to probably look at it is, can there be a third party, right, which unifies data across publishers?
right,
A New York Times works with a certain third party, which also works with another publisher, right? And can there be multiple identifiers for the same user sitting across these publishers, but while you've been being united by a third party like this? Like if you see today, building a ID graph is something that a lot of players are trying to do. LiveRamp, TapAd, all of these players already had made some progress in this regard even earlier. Building a device graph of sorts, being able to identify the same user across devices and stuff.
right.
If you look at Nielsen just made an entry into this thing, into this sector recently as well.
Okay.
At the end of the day, it comes down to creating how do I put it, interoperable universal identification solutions, you could say. So that's another thing that will pick up steam as well. And I'm sure advertisers will experiment with all of them. Right? They will experiment with first-party data of publishers. They'll experiment with these third-party players, and they might even experiment with a more top-down measurement approach, like going back to a media mix modeling, something of that sort. So there might be more contextual advertising that might happen instead of really depending on being able to identify a user. Can I make a guess that if somebody is consuming cricket in India, can I make an educated guess that this is a male? And depending on the kind of app this guy is affluent and so on. So these are all things that might happen today. But honestly, nobody really knows where this is going and how things will pick up in another 6 months.
So now in the next 10 or 20 years, we'll see a growth of new technologies like AR, VR, mixed reality. And advertising has to adapt to all these things, right? So how do you see display advertising adapting to these new technologies?
Right. Okay. So I can probably comment on what I see in the in-app world, because I primarily look at in-app. But nevertheless, AR, you're right in saying that this is an innovation that's likely to create a ripple in the advertising world in the near future.
Right.
And I think one of the key things today, at least a lot of mobile players look to talk about, is how mobile is in a better position to offer some of these innovation. And you will see that a lot of players, already offer a lot of augmented reality advertising experiences, right? Like if you see a market like, let's say in India, you will see the kinds of L'Oreal's experimenting with AR on ads, where
Right.
can check out a certain shade of lipstick and so on.
Right.
So that's definitely likely to pick up steam, and I'm sure with the introduction of VR by players like Facebook obviously is doing a lot of it with Oculus, but even in Apple seems to be making a lot of headway in terms of great VR experiences and so on. And I'm sure that's a space that a lot of innovation is likely to sort of take place. And everybody's sort of excited by it, but sitting here today, I really don't know like how VR is expected to sort of evolve. But however, since we are talking about innovation, I just want to touch upon some of the things that I think in-app advertising is likely to sort of witness, in the next 1 year or so. If that's okay, one of the first things that I want to sort of touch upon is just the new normal, right? After 2020, we are almost in a new place when it comes to digital advertising, I would say. One of the things that has happened is obviously advertisers' spends have come down as a result of consumer sentiment itself becoming more negative and stuff.
Right.
McKinsey talks about like the disloyal consumer, right? Like how people are now shifting across brand freely and all of that. So, and I think one of the things that has really happened in 2020 is, how can commerce be brought into advertising itself, right?
Right.
Digital plus commerce, enabling of commerce rather through digital is something I think will pick up like crazy in the next 1 year or so. And we already see a lot of effort by multiple players. One of the interesting things that all of us would be seeing is if somebody sees a video ad, right, or for a new interesting top for a girl, and can you enable purchase based on a product that you just saw in the ad, and everybody's sort of trying to crack that space, but I don't know like if anybody's really like cracked that end solution that will work seamlessly. So that shoppable media broadly, if you call it. Right, shoppable media, I think will pick up with a lot more focus on can you drive maximum conversion and so on. Think of it as like an FB plus a WhatsApp store, which enables you to make purchases, or a Google Shopping plus Google Ads, or even a platform like a Trade Desk, for instance, which is a DSP, a Trade Desk tie-up with let's say a Zalora in Southeast Asia. Right, like where Zalora is a luxury, an apparel buying platform, e-commerce player that is, and Trade Desk is a DSP, and show an ad, make a purchase on Zalora, you get to know how many people actually purchase, that sort of a thing. Even InMobi, where I work, InMobi is obviously trying to work with Gojek, which is like a super app, and we are trying to see how many of our users who've seen an ad actually made a purchase in Gojek, can we bring some of that experience into ads and so on. So that's probably one thing that's likely to pick up. If you have time to say one more interesting thing actually is 2020 and
of course I have a lot of time, Amal. Yeah, please carry on.
So the other interesting thing is I think something that is generally being referred to as digital campfires. A digital campfire is like, so for instance, if social media today is like a crowded airport, right? A digital campfire is more like an intimate space where a few people who share a certain interest come together and participate in an experience.
Right.
A place that probably wasn't really created for it, like at least today, right? Like for instance, like one of the things could be private messaging, right? Like Twitter, like for instance, Twitter direct messaging, right? Twitter DMs.
Right.
Originally, it was intended to be like a casual, intimate chat sort of a place that Twitter DMs are sort of evolving to be.
Right.
Or Instagram recently launched Threads in the US. It's like a quick fire messaging sort of a platform for close friends and stuff. So with camera, text, maybe even AR, VR, and all that, like, coming together and creating like a nice little intimate private messaging experience. And we've heard about Signal and all that stuff in India as well.
Right.
All of that's obviously picking up.
Right.
And how can brands sort of use these platforms would be an interesting problem to solve for. The other is, places like a micro community, like for instance, a Discord.
Yeah, right. I was
Yeah,
trying to come to that only, right? Yeah, Discord is like something that has been actually made to be a digital campfire, right?
correct.
Um,
Right? Like Discord, actually, if you look at it, it's originally a chat platform for gamers, right? Like,
right. Yeah.
now you have people sitting and discussing on like a cruelty-free products in makeup, that sort of a thing. And it's crazy, right? Like how people find a new destination, new users, of course, young
Right.
users that find new destinations where they can sort of come together as a small community and so on. Like,
Absolutely.
right. And another interesting example, sorry man, like another interesting example
No,
is
please don't apologize. I mean, go on. Yeah.
another interesting example is like in Fortnite, the game, right? In
Yeah.
Fortnite, the game, while the pandemic was going on, this EDM artist, honestly, I don't follow the artist, but this EDM artist called the DJ Marshmallow, he staged a virtual concert inside the game. And apparently
Right.
10 million people attended the concert.
I think it was streamed on Twitch, right?
Yeah, it could have been streamed on
Something like that happened.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. It's crazy, right? Like
Yeah.
it's a game where people are coming in and they're experiencing this actual artist performing something. So I think these are things that are likely to pick up. It's not necessarily like in an ad tech sort of a space today, but I'm sure these are experiences that people enjoy. And this is
Right.
I believe this is
No, but
something.
like, I mean, how I am thinking of is that, when Marshmallow is playing and
Mm.
he has his desk, and on the desk you could have a branding which, who's advertising that banner could be, could come through an InMobi, or I don't know, I don't know the jargon, but uh, how do you say it? It's a display area, right, of ads, and you could take up that space and do that stuff there.
Yeah, so I think a lot of players do in-game placements and stuff, but this is a
Right.
level above that, right? Like this is more
Yeah.
intimate. This is truly content in a sense. Now, how
Yeah.
a
Absolutely.
brand sort of cracks that space will be very, very interesting to see. At least in the next 1 year or so.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, so coming to your career, Amal, you've like, I think now around 8 to 10 years of corporate experience, and now you're heading APAC for InMobi, right? So, like, how can someone who's kind of just done an MBA or is not able to do an MBA but thinks they can be a really good player in this space,
Mm.
either as a business or as an individual trying to join a company like an InMobi, what do you suggest to them? What should they read? What should they do? What kind of projects should they do? What are the books that you generally read, articles, or any speaker that inspires you, a mentor of yours, anything that can help someone else reach where you are?
Right. Okay. First of all, let me clarify. I lead this thing called Client Solutions for InMobi in APAC. InMobi APAC obviously is led by a larger team and all of that. But nevertheless, like I think
Oh,
it's a
right. Yeah.
great question,
Client
Shrey.
solutions. Yes.
Right. Yeah. I think it's a great question, Shrey. Uh, you know, uh, and this is what I hear from a lot of people who want to get into ad tech as well, like programmatic, digital, ad tech, can be a cruel place sort of to gain access to. And a lot of people really like reach out to me on LinkedIn and stuff asking like how do I sort of start reading content on ad tech and so on. Like, and really my advice is see, I'm not a person. I'm not much into podcasts or anything of this sort. I'm a power user of Twitter in a way, right? Like, and I think anybody who's out there, like, and if you look at it in two ways, if you're new and outside, and you want to get into ad tech, I think there's an opportunity to like really like follow the biggest names in ad tech, right? Like whether it's simply like the biggest players in ad tech, right? Like whether it's InMobi in for instance in India and US, or if you look at players like Liftoff, Mopub, an ad colony for gaming and stuff, or even FB, Facebook, Google. Google has even this thing with Google and all of that. Right? I think there's a great opportunity to sort of get a lot of context about the industry itself, right? And if you look at like simply put, right, like if you look at a page like an Instagram for business today, I think it's a great platform for somebody to sort of learn a lot about what's happening in the industry. Instagram for Business talks about the latest trends when it comes to influencer marketing, short video campaigns, and so on. So, I think that really should be the starting point for anybody that's looking to sort of make headway. And obviously there are other websites, and this is something that I do. Every week I spend time on websites that talk about ad tech and digital advertising in general, things like Adweek or DigiDay, and even let's say I follow tons of newsletters, for instance, like just people like could be a marketing strategist like a Bob Hoffman or a Scott Galloway. People like this, just giving you a broad context about marketing, how does brand, how brands expect to evolve, and that sort of a thing. Ad Exchanger, for instance, runs a great newsletter. Like it's definitely something that people who want to get into ad tech should sort of follow. And at the end of the day, I think ad tech, of course, is a technological industry and all of that, but at the end of the day, it's marketing, right? And that's something that I'm reminding myself, day in, day out. Like at the end of the day, you need to be an expert in marketing in general. You need to have a real know-how of what's happening in marketing, and just following, the best in marketing. Like,
and I think the curiosity to know about advertising and advertising. I mean, the way branding is evolving, because I'm sure a lot of people in your space might get stuck in the tech bit of it, but the creative right brain side of it is equally or even more important, perhaps.
Oh, absolutely. And I think that can be a real differentiator for you, in a place like AdTech. Like, if you look at who's doing the craziest campaigns in the world, right? Like if you look at Burger King, for instance, there's this legend called Fernando Machado, who's the CMO of Burger King. If you just follow him on Twitter, or if you just follow the articles that he writes everywhere, you can get a real sense of what Burger King is thinking today, what are the problems that they sort of trying to solve and all of that. Like, there's this one platform that I really want to give a shout out to. There's this platform called Contagious. Contagious talks about the greatest marketing campaigns out there. There are bunch of marketing analysts who analyze campaigns, break it down, give you a perspective of why the brand did that and how it what impact did it create and so on. So again, like if you read things,
I think they have an annual sort of a thing called the most contagious brands, something like that, right?
Yeah. So
2021's
the most contagious, 2020 the most contagious campaign.
Yeah, because I read that. Yeah,
crazy, right? Yeah. So
it's crazy.
You follow things like this, I think you'll get a good sense of what's happening in marketing in general, and that's very, very important.
Right. Great, Amal. Thank you so much for all the gyan that you've given. I'm sure a lot of people will benefit a lot from your experience, your thoughts, and all that you have to offer today. Thank you so much.
I really hope so, Shrey. Yeah. Thanks for taking your time to do this. Really nice talking to you again.